The first port of call for each of us was the bustling city of Lima. But only Annette arrived in time to explore and to confirm that indeed Paddington Bear is still remembered in darkest Peru. She also found that there are still reminders of the city's elegant colonial past, and that it is a seaside town, although the beach is hardly the main attraction. But the Parc de l'Amour lived up to its name and was much enjoyed by locals and visitors alike. So it was the next day that our small group came together at last and set off on a 9-hour bus trip to Nazca. We saw the dry desert area, watched some films, passed more desert, and a small town, before dropping off the backpackers at Paracas. Then it was time for lunch and a change of scenery, until we arrived at our lovely hotel. Here our tour guide Helmut gave us a little basic Spanish.
When you say, for example, when you ask for the bill in the restaurant, it's la cuenta. Or when you say how much is anything, you can ask. The word is cuánto cuesta.
We were then let loose on the town for a while before enjoying our first group meal. Next day we had local guide Suzie with us.
The earthquake was working to get new houses because the president gave money for every family. Different birds.
She showed us that the barren-looking desert was not actually totally devoid of life.
It's very well camouflaged.
Yeah. Hello. Is that no hummingbird, huh? Sometimes some hole is connecting. There is an entrance and exit. Because they are living underneath.
But we are really here to see the Chowchilla Cemetery, which is an example of the burial practices dating from about 200 AD. For almost 700 years, important people were mummified and buried here, and are still preserved, complete with their hair and clothing.
Other pieces of pottery, are they authentic from these tombs?
We had already been shown how the insect from which cochineal is made lives on specific cacti, and now we saw many farms devoted to their culture. However, we were now travelling to see the ancient Nazca Aqueducts and canals, which have been in use for hundreds of years, bringing fresh water to this arid region.
The roof of the canal has a stone.
We then had a brief bird spotting break, before setting off to view some of the mysterious Nazca Lines.
40 meters more or less.
We were able to view some of the lines from this viewing tower, where they were seen as straight lines or as various flowing shapes. However, from a plane, the complete drawings become visible. They are certainly wondrous and have never been properly explained. Following another beautifully presented meal, we set off on an overnight bus trip to our next stop, Arequipa. Our new hotel was so elegant, as was the town itself. And before long, we were visiting the 16th century Monasterio de Santa Catalina. After yet another beautiful meal, the next day we were again on a bus. This time we passed through mountainous scenery and a national reserve at which we were able to see the wild vicuñas which live here. They are herded together every 2 years to be shorn. But the alpacas and llamas seen here are farmed animals, which also thrive in this environment. We stop again to admire the view and find that we have reached the greatest altitude of our trip, a literally breathtaking height of almost 5,000 metres. This warrants a refreshment stop, at which we can enjoy a restorative glass of Inca tea, made from coca leaves and herbs. Then onward to Chive and a relaxing dip in the thermal pool. Next morning we were all determined to be fit enough for a visit to Colca Canyon, hoping to see the mighty condors soaring on early morning thermals. And with wingspans of up to 3 meters, who could fail to be impressed by these lords of the air?
Everybody got me? Right, I'll be off again.
All too soon we were off once more, looking at a different terrain again. We stopped at small villages, which seemed very relaxed and had beautiful Catholic churches. We also passed substantial lakes and confirmed that flamingos thrive even at this altitude, along with some shy chinchillas. Eventually we arrived at Puno and found our vibrantly coloured hotel. Next morning Helmut had found us a different form of transport. And now we were to travel by boat across Lake Titicaca.
They speak Aymara language of this land. In Aymara language, no word to say thank you. So they took a couple of Spanish words and translating, they say, God will pay you.
First we stopped at one of the Europe's floating islands, where we had a demonstration of how they are constructed.
Now the first layer in one way and the other another way. You'll see why they're trying to look like a lock.
We then had a photo opportunity with the local costumes and a chance to buy some local handicrafts before choosing to take a trip on a reed boat.
Gracias.
We were soon back on our own craft and taken to our new home for the night. The first task was to negotiate the hill to our guest house, which was none too easy, given that we were at an altitude of almost 4,000 meters.
It's just for us, this place.
But eventually we arrived at our delightful guest house.
Which one? Oh, for you? Howard, yes?
That evening we followed the crowd and found a suitable spot to admire the sunset before retiring to our candlelit rooms. Of course, breakfast was served in the morning. Then we admired the view while our hosts prepared to demonstrate the local work.
You know, Pedro Willie.
Yeah, poor
You
Pedro.
know, yeah, poor Pedro. But he is staying good because
Everywhere we walked,
usually
we had
they
seen the
don't
ladies
stand
spinning, but of course weaving was also essential.
It must be poorly.
Yeah, very, very busy. But look at this. Look at this.
However, it is the men here who are taught to knit from an early age.
Oh, yes.
Thin needles, and in one needle a hook. A hook is there. They knows in which time of the job, you know, they must use that hook. Yeah.
We then took a gentle walk back to our boat while passing a crate of beer for the next guests on its way up. We travelled round to the other side of the island, where we found everyone was equally busy.
Gorgeous house. Yeah.
Here Reuben knew of a lovely sandy beach, which we could each enjoy in our own way. Then we had time for a spot of lunch before returning to Puno and its nightlife. The following day our group split, with some taking a coach trip to Cusco, while others chose the luxury train route.
Yes. Actually, can I change the coffee to tea, please?
Yeah, tea?
Yeah.
Yes.
Managed to.
The bus route followed the train quite closely, and each small town was promoting a candidate for the imminent presidential election.
Our welcome drink, which is mimosa.
After the morning's entertainment, it was time for lunch. At the halfway point, we exchanged supplies and entertainers with the opposite train. But soon after that, we stopped at the highest point of the trip, where there was the inevitable market. Then we had more dancing, followed by afternoon tea, and finally we reached Cusco. Next morning, we were taken to another important Inca site.
Sacsay woman. I know that sounds like sexy woman, but it's a big mistake. No, it's a big mistake.
What is it?
This place was built with limestone.
Oh.
So that means that if the stones are shaken by the earthquakes and there's nothing in between, they can displace to any direction. And this could cause gaps in between the stones. The gaps will cause cracks, and the cracks will make the walls collapse. So how can we avoid these kind of problems?
After this informative tour, we walked back down to the town. There we found great festivities were taking place.
Universidad Andina de Cusco. Ahora,
The next day, it was time to take an early morning train for the 3-hour trip to Machu Picchu. This ended with a short bus ride before we were finally at our destination.
The altitude of this city approx 2,400 meters above sea level. Cusco, 1,000 meters higher. Different climates. Cusco dry and here humid.
Machu Picchu is an Incan citadel built about 1450, but abandoned a century later, and its exact former use still remains a mystery. It is renowned for the sophisticated dry stone walling which, without the use of mortar, fuses together huge blocks so tightly that its cracks still can't be penetrated by a knife blade. It is the most familiar icon of Incan civilization, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it has been voted one of the 7 new wonders of the world. But eventually it was time to wend our way back to base at Aguas Calientes. The following day we set off for a rainforest walk, firstly following the railway track and carefully avoiding the trains. Once we reached the forest reserve, we enjoyed admiring butterflies and the various flowers. We had a welcome rest when we finally reached the refreshing waterfall. The afternoon was available for some shopping, and then it was back to Cusco. Next day we visited the Sacred Valley. Here we were introduced to the circular Incan agricultural terraces at Moray.
This archaeological site, just we know the Quechua name or the local name, okay? So Moray, no, which is quite similar to Moraya. And what is Moraya? Moray is a dehydrated potatoes. So in Chinchero we have seen, no, the dehydrated potatoes, the dry potatoes, no, Moraya. So as you can see, there are many concentric rings, no.
Then we saw different terraces at Chinchero. Here the conquering Spanish had incorporated Incan stonework as they built their village and Catholic church. Maras, our next stop, had also been in existence since Incan times, and here we see vast salt pans where the salt is still collected and processed.
The Incas and the pre-Incas, they used to exploit this area.
This is a route.
Finally, we are back to the local sheep and the llamas, and the traditional methods of preparing their fleeces for production.
We also buy 25 different red color on the cochinillas, the beetles, the parasites, okay? 25. If the color is permanent, doesn't boil it. 30 minutes, 1 hour, depend the color. Llama bone, okay, like a femur. It's very soft for our work. It's the pulse on title trees.
Then it was back to bustling Cusco, where yet another procession was taking place. This time in support of Kiko, the local lady who was in contest for the Peruvian presidency. The eventual result was extremely close, with Kiko conceding to PPK, a 77-year-old opponent. And now it was time for our days as a group to come to an end.
First the capital, desert. Thank you.
You have a halo glow now, yes.
However, 2 of us were adding on a little extra trip with 3 days exploring the Amazonian rainforest. We first had a 2-hour boat trip upriver to our new home, where we were introduced to some new companions. Also, our new timetable, and to our accommodation. In the afternoon, we were straight off to explore.
Yes, there are black spider monkey, brown capuchin, red howler monkey, squirrel monkey, saddleback tamarin, squirrel, dusky monkey, noisy native monkey. Yeah, howler. Howler monkey is they making big noise, like storm. Wow! With the noise, it's protecting territory.
Oh, 2 whiteheads.
David was able to point out many small creatures we might have missed.
Yes, he's manager. Oh. Yeah. He feel my finger already.
Look. However, the larger animals were more elusive. So we walked through the rainforest, across minor gorges and unsteady swing bridges. We climbed a 30-metre tower to get a bird's-eye view of the rainforest. Then we took another boat to Monkey Island, where rescued primates now enjoy a safe home.
Die bruine zijn veel sterker waarschijnlijk. Die zwarte.
Finally, we had time to relax and put our feet up. Yet even here, wildlife surrounded us, including Toto, who was the lodge's most colourful resident. But then it was back to Puerto Maldonado, where we found the local people enjoyed a very different lifestyle to that we had seen elsewhere in Peru.